I turn to the ranking member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a written opening statement that I'll just ask that it be entered in the record, and I'll just make a couple comments here. In your opening statement, you talked about the growing Russian war machine. I think that's one of the realities that we have to face that we're not really acknowledging. I've been as supportive as I am of the Ukrainian people, as much as I think Vladimir Putin is an evil war criminal. The reality we have to face is that Vladimir Putin will not lose this war. The Chairman talked about defeating Russia. Russia has 4 times the population of Ukraine. They are producing about 4.5 million 155-millimeter shells at a cost of $600 a shell. The West is somewhere around 1 million shells a year at the cost of $5,000 to $6,000. We ought to be doing oversight on that as well, but that's a separate issue. The average age of a Ukrainian soldier right now is 43 years. There are reports, quotes by some of Zelensky's inner circle saying, send us all the weapons you have, we just don't have the men to fire them. Now again, I hate that reality. It's an awful reality. But if we're really concerned about the people of Ukraine, and I don't doubt they want to fight, but if we're concerned about the people of Ukraine, we have to understand what is happening to their country. Somewhere around 100,000 dead, killed in action, civilians, probably more on the Russian side, 500,000 total casualties on both sides. Nobody knows the exact figures. $400 billion to $1 trillion worth of economic devastation of Ukraine. Every day that this war goes on, more Ukrainians die, more Russian conscripts die, and I take no joy in that. There's people yanked out of their villages to be sent as cannon fodder into the front line of a bloody stalemate. More of Ukraine gets destroyed. So I think it's an interesting hearing. I was criticized many years ago when I questioned the ability of sanctions to do what they really designed to do. That they maybe do more harm, for example, to our allies than they're actually doing. I think that's kind of the record of the sanctions against Russia. They just haven't worked because their war machine is growing. You know, some of the justification for spending $60 billion on funding Ukraine is, oh, it's really not going to Ukraine. It's going to build up our military-industrial complex like it needs more building up. It's going to create jobs in our state. I think that's a pretty depraved justification for supporting Ukraine. So again, we need to look at the reality situation. I know our witnesses here will say that there's all kinds of things we can do to, plug the holes. I doubt it. I saw the chart there. It'll just be Huawei. It'll be other people supplying these things. You have to recognize that reality. I don't like it. But if we're going to drive policy, we need to recognize the reality of things. We keep pushing Russia. They have nuclear weapons. I think our policy ought to be, how do we start reducing tensions in the world? And I would argue that the best way to do that is for America to be strong. And it starts with addressing our debt and deficit. It's out of control. It starts with securing our borders, not letting military-age men from China, from 150 different countries all over the world, into our country unopposed. It's about using our fossil fuel resources rather than artificially drive up our energy costs. It's about stopping deficit spending so we don't continue to drive inflation. That's how you strengthen this country. That's how you make the world a more secure place. So we need to start facing those realities. And as interesting as this hearing may be in terms of, sanctions being evaded, they're always going to be evaded. You plug one hole, another hole is going to be opening up. It's going to be whack-a-mole. So it's a reality we have to face. But we better start facing reality if we're going to start producing public policy that makes any sense in this country whatsoever. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Senator Johnson. I'm going to introduce the